This is the 77 WABC minicast.
If you are waiting on TSA lines this morning, congratulations. Hopefully you'll get to your destination at some point today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, especially if you miss your flights because the lines have now in some cases exceeded 2-3 hours just to get through security. But you would be perhaps happy to know that there was another vote on reopening the DHS. Sadly, Democrats once again blocked it. So here we are. I think it's day 34, day 33, 34, 35, something like that, of the DHS shutdown while we're also in the middle of a war. All of this because Democrats insist that protecting illegal immigrants from deportation is vastly more important than protecting the American people from the threat of terrorism coming from the number one state sponsor of terrorism in the world, Iran, while we are in a conflict with them. And Democrats also don't care how long you have to stand on line, what it is that you have to go through as passengers, because illegal immigrants come first, and protecting illegal immigrants' right, they believe a right to stay in the country illegally, comes before everything else. And that is what this entire partial government shutdown is about. They are demanding that could you stop ICE from doing their jobs. Make sure that they're doxxed. Make sure that people know who these agents are so that they can harass them online, so that they can harass their families, perhaps even do worse to them, in an attempt to stop them from actually doing their jobs, which is deporting illegal immigrants. Despite the fact that Kristi Noem has been reassigned from the administration. That was one of the things they wanted. It happened. Despite the fact that Bovina, who was running ICE operations too, has announced he's retiring. He's no longer. Tom Holman is now running it. Despite all of the things that have taken place, Democrats are still insisting they're going to keep your government partially shut down, including important cyber functions, battling cyber war, while we are in a state of war a state of conflict with Iran. All to protect illegal immigrants who have no right to be here. So many other things in the news today, and we will cover that. By the way, I found this remarkably almost funny, hysterical, but I didn't have time to do the research to go back and look at what happened when the Patriot Act was being legislated and when all of this took place in the days after 9/11. But today the editorial board of the Washington Post has determined that there's a better way to do airport security. They published a piece this morning, The Airports Without Long Security Lines. There's no reason a dispute over DHS funding should make passenger screening a nightmare. That's according to the Washington Post editorial board. And they say passengers are waiting in long lines at airports across the country because security screeners are going unpaid, not showing up to work. They're going unpaid because politicians in Washington disagree about immigration policy. Let me correct that for the New York Times, for the Washington Post editorial board. They're going unpaid because Democrat politicians in Washington want to protect illegal immigration. It makes no sense, but fortunately there's a way to prevent this from ever happening again. Currently, the Washington Post editorial board says 20 American airports use private contractors, not the TSA, to screen passengers. And those private contractors still get paid regardless of whether Congress passes legislation on time. The Federal Government Screening Partnership Program, SPP, allows airports to apply to use qualified private companies for passenger screening rather than relying on unionized federal employees. The TSA still gets to set the regulations and standards for the private screeners. The agency just doesn't do the screening itself. This is a much better way to do airport security. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it used to be before the politicians in Washington stepped in the days after 9/11 and demanded that the private airline screening become the chore of government. And now, almost a quarter century after 9/11, here comes the Washington Post editorial board say, you know what? Let's privatize it. Instead of relying on these unionized, I wonder how the left is going to take that. Instead of relying on these unionized workers, let's let the private sector do it. Sure, the TSA can set the standards, but let the private sector do it. Privatize it, and that way we will never have to deal with this abuse that is happening to American passengers because Democrats are insisting that illegal immigrants come first. Illegal aliens come first. American citizens come last. It is a stunning reversal from the left. The very idea that the government is not doing the job, turn it over to the private sector. Your thoughts on that are welcome.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.